What's up guys, Techmaster back with another video. So today we're going to be comparing the iPad Air 5th generation and the iPad 10th generation. I have not done this comparison yet in person, just with these two iPads, but this is a lot of people's confusing debate on which one of these devices is worth buying. So I'm going to go through all the different features, specs, and which one is worth it today. So starting off with the colors, we have more color options on the iPad Air 5. We have Space Gray, Starlight, Pink, Purple, and this gorgeous blue. Then on the iPad 10, we have silver, pink, blue, and yellow. In my opinion, I like the colors of the iPad Air 5 way more than the iPad 10. Some people disagree, but that's my personal opinion. This blue is nice, but every other color, like the silver and the yellow, I'm not a huge fan of. But, that doesn't really matter. In terms of price, the iPad Air 5 is $599 or $600, $750 for cellular. The iPad 10 is $450 for Wi-Fi and $599 for cellular. So there's a $150 gap between these. So yeah, let's go through some of the specs. So on the back on the display side, sorry, I misspoke there. They have the exact same 10.9-inch liquid retina displays, but the iPad Air 5th generation has a laminated display, anti-reflective coating, a P3 wide color, and yeah, they both have True Tone, but the iPad 10 is sRGB color and is noticeably worse. It also doesn't have a laminated display, and that's a downside for some people. So there's a lot more glare on it, and yeah, all that stuff. In terms of performance, the iPad Air 5 kills the iPad 10 in every single way. We have the M1 chip with an 8-core CPU, an 8-core GPU, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and a 16-core neural engine, compared to an A14 Bionic with a 6-core CPU, a 4-core GPU, 4 gigabytes of RAM, and a 16-core neural engine. But in terms of the iPad Air 5 has double the RAM and 4 extra GPU cores, which will really help with performance, as well as 2 extra CPU cores too. On the camera, they have the exact same 12 megapixel rear camera with an f1.8 aperture. On the front camera, the iPad 10 has a landscape 12 megapixel ultra wide camera, which is actually really convenient for FaceTime calls. So that's way better, obviously. We have a USB connector on them. Now, this is something people have not tested, but I've seen it in plenty of other videos. The iPad 10 gets really slow USB-C transfer speeds, about USB 2.0 and 41 megabytes compared to 10 gigabytes on the iPad 10 or the iPad Air 5, sorry. The iPad 10 has a 41 megabit per second file transfer. Like literally the iPad Air is like 5 times faster at this. So that's one thing to keep in mind. MaxTech tested this out. If you want to have a link to their channel, I'll put it in the description below to that video. And yeah, let's get back to it. So then we have Touch ID on the top button for both of these. We have the same speakers, but the iPad Air 5 has much better speaker quality. If you do a speaker comparison in that video between the iPad 10 and the iPad Air 5, if you go into MaxTech's channel, they test out the speakers. There's way better speaker quality on the iPad Air 5. Now, they both have Wi-Fi 6, that's the same, 5G. Now, this is the worst part of the iPad 10 in every single area. The iPad 10 uses the first generation Apple Pencil. So you have to buy a $9 adapter, which uses up way more plastic. You have to buy another USB-C charging port and then connect the Apple Pencil to the Lightning end and stick it into the iPad. Like, it's so stupid. Versus the iPad Air 5 has a really nice like magnetic way of charging, and it's really convenient, and it's just so much better. Yeah. And then the iPad Air 5 supports the Magic Keyboard, which is actually a lot better than this Magic Keyboard Folio thing. It's way better. And yeah. Then if we go in, they both have the same storage. So again, they're $150 apart, but they have the same storage, like 64 gigabytes. Like I said, and this is in my opinion also, they need to bump up the storage. They've been using 64 gigabytes for like since the beginning of time now. They need to have a 128 option and maybe even a 512, because even for 256, if you're doing a ton of storing a bunch of files, you need more than that sometimes. And 64, Like the Air starting at $599 for 64 gigabytes. That's not great. Like, I'm not saying don't recommend this iPad, but I think this is a really really good iPad. Regardless of that, like it's totally fine. But I'm just saying they should bump up the storage. Weight and height, the iPad 10 is a little taller, a little thicker, a little bit. It's actually quite heavier, 16 grams heavier actually, because it's thicker too. It's 7 millimeters compared to the iPad Air 6.1, so it's really thin. You have to be careful, like not to like bend it or do anything weird to it. Because, oh wow, yeah, and I didn't realize the cellular version is almost 20 grams heavier. Wow. Okay, they both have liquid retina displays, fully illuminated screen on the iPad Air 5, anti-reflective coating, compared to sRGB. The iPad, and then performance, the iPad Air 5 also has a media engine, which is really good for video editing and stuff like that. So that's going to be better. Battery's basically the same. The iPad 10 has really good battery life. Apparently, the iPad Air 5's it's not as good because the M1 chip is more efficient, but it also uses up way more power. The M1 is obviously more efficient than A14, so it kind of depends on your usage. If you're doing a lot of heavy things, the M1 will drain more battery. But for light simple tasks, the M1 is really good. And I've had zero battery problems. The M1 is actually a lot better than any of the older iPad Pros or anything like that, because they're also don't have the Air doesn't have a ProMotion display either. Yeah. Anyway, let's go through all this. Both have the same camera, f1.8 aperture, digital zoom up to 5x, smart HDR3, pretty cool. Video recording is the same. Pretty much the same thing here. Touch ID, Touch ID, Touch ID, all models. They also have 5G if you get that, but only sub 6. So that's the slowest 5G. It's not the best. To be honest, I wouldn't recommend getting 5G unless you're on like T-Mobile. T-Mobile does have better, is I would say faster sub 6 5G than Verizon, but Verizon has better millimeter wave, which is, I mean, obviously, like I wouldn't really, unless you 100% need it, I wouldn't really get 5G on the iPad Air or iPad 10. If you're gonna get it, I would get the iPad Pro because they do have millimeter wave support, which allows for really fast 5G, in my opinion. They have gigabit LTE, which is really fast Wi-Fi calling, cool. eSIM or nano SIM, USB connector, Touch ID, that stuff. And yeah, so, guys, I gotta be completely honest with you. I totally think the iPad Air is so much better of a device than the iPad 10 in so many different ways. I mean, using the Apple Pencil 1 on the iPad Air 10 or the iPad 10 is retarded and it should not exist. And, yeah, it's really retarded, honestly, and it should not exist like that. And, yeah, sorry if I said that. That was kind of I shouldn't say that, but um, yeah, it's really not good that the slow USB-C port, like 41 megabytes, like you understand that takes like 11 minutes to transfer files, like basic files that aren't even that big. Like if you watch Max Texas match, sorry, I can't speak today. If you watch Max Tech's video, then you will see that it's really slow. Like if you watch their video, it's very very slow. I'm telling you guys. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. To get back to what I was saying, but yeah, the iPad Air 5 is such a better device in so many different ways. Performance, Apple Pencil support, screen is so much better, like way better. You get the limited display, the anti-reflective coating, P3Y color. It's a gorgeous, really sharp display, all that stuff. But like the iPad Air is so much of a better device. Like the iPad 10, I would honestly skip this device if I were you. I would recommend just getting the budget ninth generation iPad. It's a way better value also, even though it has the older design. I would honestly skip this model unless you can get it for like 350 or maybe 399. But at 450 bucks, it's really overpriced. Like completely overpriced. Like it doesn't make any sense. If you had an Apple Pencil 2 support and a limited screen, if it was like the iPad Air, then that would be an incredible value. But with using the Apple Pencil 2 or Apple Pencil 1, sorry, I can't speak to that. I don't know why. But using the Apple Pencil 1, and that's just not really that good. Like, if you know what I mean? Like, it's just weird that it's using that. Because, like, look, yes, that adapter is only $9, but it's just a waste of plastic. It's not good for the environment, and it's just way more convenient. And the Apple Pencil 2 is only like $30 more to buy. It's just so much. Basically, by the time you get all these things, it's going to be the same as the Apple Pencil 2. So it really doesn't make a lot of sense. And the speakers are way better, all that stuff. The camera's better with the M1 ISP in there, and all that stuff. So yeah, anyway, guys, I would totally recommend the iPad Air 5 100% over the iPad 10. It's a way better iPad in so many different ways. And like I said, and also, and I forgot, if you're going to get an iPad 10, I would get a refurbished iPad Air 4. That thing's way better than the iPad 10 also. It has a much better port, better screen, Apple Pencil 2 support, better colors, all that stuff. That thing, probably around $400. That is an incredible deal, actually. Yeah, that's crazy. So yeah. Anyway, guys, I hope this helped you guys decide. Like I said, iPad Air 5, absolutely. iPad 10, I would probably skip that device. Look, if you're a kid and you're not using the Apple Pencil, then that is totally fine. You can just get that one if you're like in store. But the iPad Air is an incredible iPad. I think this is, like I said, still the best iPad you can buy right now, even over the iPad Pro 11-inch, fourth generation, because the iPad Pro, it has, I mean, it might have a little bit better battery life, but it has a little couple extra benefits, but not that much, you know. Anyway, guys, I gotta get, I'm gonna end this video because it's probably been very long, but yeah. Anyway, see you guys later.